Good afternoon, dear visitors. Let me present you the main results of the study on the topic Development of CRM System with a Mobile Application for a School. Authors of the article Nataliia Cheboksarova, Tetiana Vakaliuk, and Iurii Iefremov. One of the main issues in the management of education institutions, including schools, is to increase the level of educational and methodological work of a particular institution. A digital educational platform would allow the effective use of available education institution resources. Students and teachers would be allowed to use modern technologies in practice. The main advantages of such technologies are performing various types of educational work, control, and evaluation of knowledge online, open learning environment for subjects of educational process, etc. All these leads to the fact that the use of various digital technologies provides an opportunity to keep electronic journals, use online services for the learning process, conduct correspondence, testing, assessment of knowledge online, and communication, etc. Given the pace of modern life, many people seek to save their time by using mobile applications. But at the beginning of their design, there is a choice: to choose a ready cross-platform framework or to develop separate applications for each end platform. Both solutions have their disadvantages and advantages. For example, cross-platform solutions significantly speed up the development process because they meet the principle: deliver as much as necessary and write once. And native applications have much faster performance than universal ones. However, they require separate construction of interfaces and writing application functionality for each of the platform. The existence of their educational environment, which will provide interaction between the student and teacher in the school, is a topical issue today. Relationship management can be implemented in the form of a CRM system. CRM literally means Customer Relationship Management and refers to all strategies, methods, tools, and technologies used by business to develop, retain, and attract customers. For a deeper understanding of the research problem, consider certain analogs. After getting acquainted with the analogs and their analysis, we can conclude that each software application is significantly different from its competitors. The biggest disadvantage of all the above applications is the lack of interaction between students and teachers. All data is stored locally by the user and doesn't affect the system as a whole. Benefits include easy-to-use schedules, track homework, alert system, and statistical action. The work aims to design and develop a CRM system with a mobile, cross-platform application for a school. The application architecture can be considered the foundation that holds everything together and supports your code base as it grows. If you have a good foundation, it becomes easier to make changes and add new things. The architecture uses design templates to solve problems effectively. Therefore, it's necessary to choose the design templates that best suit the problem to be solved. Client-server architecture is the dominant technology in the creation of distributed network applications. It provides data exchange and interaction between developed software products. The model of client-server interaction is determined primarily by the division of responsibilities between the client and the server. In the left at the screen, in the slides shown a diagram of the architecture. Dotted horizontal lines define clear layers of the application. This comes down to the single responsibility principle. Each component in the application must do only one. The following patterns can be used to separate business logic: MVC, MVVM, block, MVP. This system is event-oriented, so the MVC pattern, Model View Controller, isn't entirely appropriate, because the view component will create events to which the controller component must respond. And this, in turn, violates the concept of the pattern because the view component shouldn't affect the controller. In addition, there are more appropriate patterns for such tasks. Block, business logic component, is a pattern quite similar to popular solutions for mobile devices, such as MVP or MVVM. Write diagrams. In this mobile application, we use block pattern. Events and actions are the input to the block architecture. They are usually created in response to user interaction with the interface, such as button pressed or lifecycle events such as page loading. States are the results of the block architecture. Moreover, they are part of the overall state of your application. Interface components can receive status notifications and redraw paths based on the current status. Block converts a stream of input events into a stream of output states. Block is like a brain that receives information, processes it, and responds. Stream is a sequence of asynchronous data. The user interface and block listen to this stream and responds to any changes. For all this to work, block must be available. There are several ways to make it available, for example through the global singleton. This method isn't recommended because Dart doesn't have a class destructor, so it will not be possible to freeze resources properly. Therefore, a separate instance of block is created in the application. Initialization takes place inside the stateful widget so that you can take advantage of the dispose of the method. The repository architectural pattern was also used in this mobile application. Repository Dart serves as abstraction between the client code and the data provider. So as a developer working on features, you don't need to know where the data comes from. It can come from the API provider or a local database. So it's a good practice to use the repository template. The combined block and repository patterns work well together. The first algorithm encountered by the user in the application is to determine whether the user is logged in. Then the role of the user is determined, whether it's a teacher, a student, or a manager. Depending on the role, the corresponding tab opens. Infig shows that tab algorithm for the teacher. If the role was determined as a student, the first tab is displayed, a group info page. Infig right shows a diagram of student. For the students, the second tab is classmates page, where the student can view his profile information and list of classmates. The second tab for the teacher is group list page, with a list of groups and the ability to add new groups, locations, and lessons. The Flutter architecture differs from the other software frameworks, React, Apache Cordova, in that it doesn't use HTML, CSS, and JavaScript to build the interface. It uses its engine for rendering. Flutter uses only one Dart programming language. Flutter is an innovative technology for developing cross-platform mobile applications for Android and iOS. Its advantage is the deployment of both Android and iOS at the same time using a single code base. Development is faster without losing productivity. The chart is built using the online resource app Creately. In the diagram we see that it's divided into two components, namely smartphone is our device and Firebase server. Firebase is a serverless structure that allows you to automatically run server code in response to events caused by Firebase, functions, and HTTP requests. To exchange data between the client, we are considering the application on the smartphone, and the server web server is mainly used HTTP protocol or its extension HTTPS for secure data transfer. On the desktop, the first thing that user sees is the application icon. It should be notable, interesting, and include universal symbols that will be equally perceived by people with different religious views. The style and the logo were taken from the School Prize Center, for which this product is developed. The next thing that catches the user's eye is the download screen. It should also be stylistic and should be concise. It doesn't make sense to add a lot of text on it because the application loads quickly and the user will not be able to read that information. Therefore, the design and text should be minimal. The unauthorized user should firstly see the authorization page. If the user is new, he can click on the text in the form and go to the registration page. When the fields are filled, the button becomes active and changes color. To begin with, consider the type of application for the teacher. On the first page, we are greeted by the teacher's schedule. Figure shows the lessons in the schedule. Lessons differ in color because they have differences. When you click on the lesson, detailed information about the lesson opens, and buttons for actions on the lesson are displayed. For example, we can delete a lesson or edit it, also block the lesson and add grades to it. The form for editing a lesson is the same as when creating a lesson. The difference is that it's already filled with data that is about the lesson, so that the user doesn't have to rewrite everything again, and he just changes the fields he needs. To create an entry in the journal, you must click on the Add Grades button and editing the lesson. Then a form will open with a list of all students, where in front of each will be a tick that can be clicked and turned into a cross, which means whether the student was present. Also, next to each name you can put grades for the lesson and homework. Grades are given in a 5-point system. By default, the student was present at school, and the grades will be recorded as 0. The peculiarity of a school is that the grade for the lesson and homework is mandatory. Therefore, 0 is considered a full grade for poor performance in class. The second tab of the teacher is the tab of groups, as well as adding new locations, groups, and lessons. When you click on the buttons Create Group, Create Lesson, Create Location, the corresponding form of creation opens. Validation is calculated for each field, and if the form isn't valid, button isn't active. For such fields as city, group, location, teacher, the drop-down list from the received data is provided. The last tab is Chats. It's common to all users. It shows a list of chats. You can see the name and photo of the user you are talking to, as well as the last chat message and how long ago this message was sent. When you click on the chat, it opens and all messages are displayed, showing who sent them and when. Also below is a text entry field, as well as a button to add a photo. When opened, the chat is initially scrolled down and shows the last messages. You can send both short and long messages, photos, emoji icons. When you long-click on a group in the group list, or a chat in the chat list, or a student in the corresponding list, a dialog box will pop up asking if you want to delete the item. When you select No, the action is cancelled. If you agree, the item will be deleted and the list will be updated, so the deleted item will no longer be displayed. For the student, the appearance of the first two tabs will be different. For example, the first tab will show the name of the group and detailed information about the next lesson. The next lesson is based on single and regular lessons, but ignores the lessons that are blocked. There are also buttons to show grades and schedules, which work in the same way as the teachers. The difference is that only the student's grade and schedule will be shown. On the second tab, the student is waiting for his profile information, which he filled out after registration, as well as a list of all the children in the group to which he is attached. Clicking on any student will open a chat with him. You can also open charts as in the teacher, going to the last tab. In this work, as a fair product was developed, a CRM system with a mobile application for a school. In the course of their work, the processes of modeling, building architecture, and implementation of application functionality were described. This CRM system is implemented in the educational process of a school and undergoes initial testing. Further development and support of the developed software product are planned. Thanks to a properly designed architecture, these processes will take place without undue delay in adapting the structure of the application. Thanks for attention.